Balance is everything, from execution barriers, skill curves, tiers, stalling, camping, stealth move negation, to the pacing. These are the results of how the design of a game and the players come together to shape the gameplay experience. Though most commonly think of character balance, there's so much more to it. Balance is not an on or off quality. All games are balanced to play like they do. So instead of only asking if character matchups are fair, let's consider how design decisions affect the balance of our experiences as a whole. Check out this balance metaphor. Understanding how one design element can affect gameplay is like taking an issue to the lab. Here, we look at things very closely while considering skill, complexity, depth, and all the tournament data we can get our hands on. And remember, video games are complicated. It's likely that any seemingly small change or design element will have multiple effects on the gameplay experience. The following are different ways to look at the balance of Brawl and Melee. Gameplay balance starts with the balance of mechanics or player actions. So before we look at tiers, we must consider how each character is balanced and how each move is balanced. Each move or attack in Smash has pros and cons. In general, we expect moves to be balanced according to a fairly simple formula. For every 1 or 2 pros a move must have 1 con. In this formula are the categories startup speed, active time, recovery speed, range, damage, knockback, and special abilities. Knowing this formula helps us strategize against new moves or moves used in new ways because it's a lot easier to memorize the formula than all the data for every move and character in the game. Notice how many of the categories deal with space and time. This is because most of the counters in the game are natural counters, which involve dodging and avoiding attacks through movement. Some moves have very few cons. Some moves are powerful, meaty, lengthy, and recover quickly. Yet, such moves don't break the game. The reason is winning in Smash involves more than just using your best attacks all the time. Knocking characters off the stage far enough in any direction is how to win, so we have to consider the many ways players can do this and avoid such a fate. Like the general mechanical balancing formula, characters are designed with pros and cons of weight, speed, recovery, power, maneuverability, and nuance or special abilities. So even if your opponent plays a character that has a really effective up air, for example, if you don't jump in the air a lot, then their best move will be much less applicable. So the final question from the survey asks, which game is more balanced? Here's what you said. We all know that some characters are better than others. Most fighting gamers don't expect all the characters in a game to be perfectly balanced. But it's not unreasonable to expect them to be close in power. The trickiest part about judging the relative power of each character is that the tier list is based on current knowledge and the current metagame. Years after release, players still discover new things about their characters. This is the result of the massive amount of complexities and emergence in fighting games. Because of this reality, characters with simple, straightforward power will quickly rise to the top of the list, while it'll take much longer for players to develop the long-term memory to convert the other characters' nuances into power. Because many will play the strong, straightforward characters, their knowledge base will grow, making them even stronger. Fortunately, this also helps players learn how to counter these characters. Another way to think about character balance is not which character has the best chance of winning, but how each character fights. Some refer to this quality as diversity, but I have a better term. It's all about fleshing out the design space. Whether you touch as many corners as you can, as Serlin would say, or you make sure that each character is as unique and distinct from all other characters as possible, the end result will be more diverse. For every move in the game, if you can think of a character that exemplifies that move in their common playstyle, there's a good chance that the game has fleshed out its design space rather than making a lot of characters that are slight variations of the same fighting style. In Melee's case, L canceling makes characters' most effective and most used moves aerial attacks. This makes ground attacks less used and special attacks used sparingly outside of recovery. The Melee APM thread confirms this in just about any high-level video you can find. Even if the game has a fleshed out design space of ground, special, and air attacks, the metagame or the tournament gameplay does not use it evenly. Movement is a big deal in any character-based game. From platformers to fighters, how you move is a key part of how the gameplay challenges are created. Before we consider how movement options affect combat, we can take a moment to look at all the ways players can move. The more unique paths and speeds, the more diverse the game. This is something you can see clearly for yourself. Understanding these results takes an understanding of how battles play out, and this leads us into considering the balance of Brawl and Melee's core combat design, which I'll tackle in part 2.